You are not suffering because life is cruel. You are suffering because your mind has been fighting ghosts that were never real. And in the next few moments, I will show you how one breath, one shift in awareness can free you from years of fear, anger, and exhaustion. Right here, right now. Our suffering rarely comes from what actually happens to us. It comes from what we think is happening. Most people don't realize this. They believe their pain is caused by someone's words, someone's actions, someone's silence, someone's mistake. But tonight, let me gently reveal a truth that has liberated countless practitioners of mindfulness for centuries. You are hurt far more by the story your mind creates than by the event itself. Let me show you. There is an old Zen story of a man rowing peacefully down a river at sunset. The water was calm, the sky golden, his heart completely at ease. Suddenly, another boat drifted straight toward him. He shouted, "Be careful!" But the boat did not move. He grew angry, he screamed, "Move aside!" And moments later, crash, the two boats collided. He stood up, furious, ready to curse the other person. But then he looked inside the boat. There was no one there. It was empty. At that moment, all his anger disappeared. Instantly. Not because the situation changed, not because the boats didn't collide, but because the story in his mind collapsed. There was no enemy, no intention, no disrespect. Just an empty boat drifting with the current. Now pause with me. How many of the boats you've collided with in life were actually empty? The coworker who didn't greet you this morning, was their silence really about you? The driver who cut you off, were they truly trying to offend you?
The friend who hasn't replied, does that automatically mean rejection? The partner who spoke sharply, was it hatred or just the weight of their own stress? Modern psychology confirms this ancient truth. Studies from Harvard show that nearly 80% of conflicts in daily life come from misinterpreted intentions, not real hostility. Our mind fills the boat with imaginary people, imaginary motives, imaginary insults, and then we fight with them. As the Buddha said, "You are not punished for your anger. You are punished by your anger." Because every time you assume the worst, every time you take things personally, every time you give meaning to something that had none, you create suffering inside yourself. So let me ask you, very honestly, very directly, how many empty boats have you yelled at this week? How many times did your mind create an enemy who never existed? How much peace have you traded away because of assumptions? Mindfulness invites us to do something radically different. To pause, to breathe, to step back from the story, and to see clearly. When you stop assuming intentions, when you stop filling empty boats with imaginary attackers, something extraordinary happens. Your heart softens, your mind quiets, your life becomes lighter. Tonight, as we continue this journey, I will show you how this single shift, seeing the empty boat, can transform the way you respond to stress, criticism, conflict, and fear. Because the moment you stop fighting illusions is the moment you begin to live in peace. There is a reason you feel exhausted even on the days when nothing bad happens. A reason you lie awake at night replaying conversations, imagining disasters, worrying about things that do not exist yet. It is not because your life is overwhelmingly difficult. It is because your mind is overwhelmingly active. Let me tell you a story that reveals this truth more clearly than any scientific study ever could. A Zen monk was once walking through the forest when suddenly he heard a roar. He turned, and a tiger was charging toward him. He ran as fast as he could
until he reached the edge of a cliff. With no way out, he grabbed a vine and climbed down. But as he looked below, his heart froze. Another tiger was waiting at the bottom. Above him, danger. Below him, danger. And then he noticed something else. A single ripe red strawberry growing from the cliffside. And what did he do? He plucked it, put it in his mouth, and tasted it as if nothing else in the world existed. No fear, no regret, no future, just the sweetness of the present moment. Why do Zen masters tell this story? Because you are that monk. Your life is suspended between two tigers. Tiger 1, the past. The mistakes you can't forgive, the words you wish you had not said, the relationships that hurt you, the memories that still sting. These tigers whisper, "You should have done better. You were wrong. You failed." Tiger 2, the future. The bills you fear you can't pay, the uncertainty about your career, the health results you're waiting for, the fear of losing someone you love. These tigers growl, "What if everything goes wrong? What if I'm not enough? What if I lose control?" You spend your days swinging between these tigers, regret on one side, anxiety on the other. No wonder you are tired. Neuroscience says the average person spends 47% of their waking life thinking about something other than what they are doing.
And almost all of that mental wandering is either about the past or the future. It is no surprise then that peace feels so rare. You cannot feel calm when your mind is not where your body is. The monk's strawberry teaches us this. The present moment is the only place where tigers cannot reach you. Right here, this breath, this second, past and future lose their power. Regret cannot touch you. Fear cannot touch you. Only presence exists. Think of a moment recently when you were completely present. The taste of your morning tea, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, a child laughing, a song that made you close your eyes. For that instant, everything was enough. There were no tigers. There was only life, raw, vivid, immediate. The Buddha said, "The past is already gone. The future is not yet here. There is only one moment to live." But most of us miss this one moment, again and again. So tonight, I ask you, where are your tigers? What memory still bites you? What fear still claws at your heart? And most importantly, where is your strawberry? What small, simple joy is waiting for you right now to notice it? Because the truth is this: peace will not come when your problems disappear. Peace comes when your presence appears. And the moment you taste the strawberry of the present, even for one breath, the tigers fall silent. There is a deep, often uncomfortable, truth about human suffering. Most of the pain you experience, you create without knowing it. The Buddha explained this with a simple yet life-changing metaphor: the two arrows. Imagine this. You are struck by an arrow. It hurts, sharp, sudden, unavoidable. This is life's natural pain. Illness, loss, rejection, disappointment, change, aging. No human being escapes the first arrow.
But then, without hesitation, without awareness, you pick up a second arrow and stab yourself with it. This second arrow is not physical. It is psychological. It is emotional. It is self-inflicted. The first arrow is what happens. The second arrow is how you react to what happens. And studies in psychology show that the second arrow accounts for over 70 to 80% of the suffering people report on a daily basis. Let me show you how this works in real life. You make a mistake. First arrow, I messed up. Second arrow, I always mess up. I'm useless. Everyone is judging me. Someone leaves you. First arrow, they're gone. Second arrow, I will never be loved again. Something is wrong with me. You receive bad news. First arrow, the news itself. Second arrow, replaying it 1,000 times in your mind. You fail. First arrow, the result. Second arrow, I am a failure. Do you see it? The second arrow is not the event. It is the story, the self-criticism, the overthinking, the fear, the blame, the catastrophizing. The Buddha said, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. He wasn't denying that life hurts. He was teaching that how long you stay in pain is entirely in your hands. Modern neuroscience now confirms this ancient insight. Researchers at Stanford discovered that emotional pain lasts 90 seconds in the body unless the mind continues to feed it. If you stop adding thoughts, judgments, and stories, the second arrow disappears. But most of us never question our second arrows. We reinforce them. We rehearse the argument. We replay the insult. We magnify the fear. We keep stabbing ourselves without realizing it. Let me ask you something. How many wounds in your life were caused by the first arrow? And how many were caused by your own repetitive thinking? If you are honest with yourself, the answer may be uncomfortable, but also liberating. Because the moment you become aware of the second arrow, you gain the power to stop the cycle. Mindfulness teaches us to pause, to feel the first arrow without judgment, and to refuse the second one. To say, yes, this hurts, but no, I will not hurt myself further. You do not have to believe every thought you think. You do not have to follow every fear your mind invents. You do not have to turn one pain into 10. Let me offer you a simple practice. When something painful happens, say quietly to yourself, first arrow, stop here. One sentence, one breath, one moment of awareness. This single pause can prevent hours, days, or even years of unnecessary suffering. Because suffering doesn't come from life. It comes from the extra arrows you fire at yourself. Tonight, as we continue, I will show you how to stop this cycle and how to meet life's arrows with clarity, compassion, and strength. There is a moment in every life when loss knocks on the door. A loved one dies, a relationship ends, a dream collapses, a chapter closes before we are ready. And in that moment, most people feel the same thing. Why me? Why my family? Why this pain? Why now? We believe our suffering is unique, that our heartbreak marks us as cursed, unlucky, or singled out. But the Buddha offered a story that shatters this illusion and reveals one of the most liberating truths a human can learn. A woman named Kisa Gotami lost her only son. Her grief was so overwhelming, she carried his body through the village, begging anyone, "Please, someone must know how to bring him back." The villagers wept with her, but no one could help. Finally, someone said, "Go to the Buddha. If anyone can help you, it is him." With a flicker of hope, she ran to the Buddha, laid her child at his feet, and pleaded, "Master, please bring him back to life." The Buddha looked at her with infinite compassion and said, "I can help you, But first, you must bring me a single mustard seed from a home that has never known death." Kisa sprang to her feet. This seemed possible, just one seed. She went to the first home. They said, "We lost our father last year." Second home, "Our daughter died in childbirth." Third home, "We lost a brother in the war." House after house, village after village, every door she knocked on had known loss. As the sun set, realization dawned. Her grief was great, but it was not unique. It was part of the human condition. She returned to the Buddha empty-handed, but no longer pleading. "Master," she said softly, "there is no house untouched by death." And the Buddha replied, "You have discovered the truth. Everything that has a beginning has an ending. Peace comes when we accept this." Why is this story essential for us today? Because in modern life, we pretend impermanence doesn't exist. We avoid the topic of death. We avoid endings. We fear aging. We cling to people, things, and identities as if they will last forever.
But the reality, the truth we must all face is this: nothing and no one we love is guaranteed. Everything you can touch will eventually change, leave, or end. And yet, this is not a reason for despair. It is a reason to love more deeply. Listen carefully. Impermanence does not diminish life's value. Impermanence creates life's value. You cherish sunsets because they fade. You cherish youth because it passes. You cherish loved ones because time with them is finite. You cherish moments because they cannot be repeated. Hospice nurses, people who spend their lives with the dying, report the top 3 regrets they hear. 1. I wish I had lived true to myself. 2. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. 3. I wish I had expressed more love. Not a single person says, "I wish life had lasted forever." They say, "I wish I had lived more fully while I could." Impermanence is not the enemy. It is the greatest teacher. It tells you, don't wait. Don't postpone love. Don't save joy for later. Don't assume you will have another chance. Because the truth is, we never know which moment will be the last. Mindfulness is not about denying loss. It is about transforming our relationship with it. When you stop resisting impermanence, you stop fearing it. You stop clinging. You stop drowning in "why me?" And you start asking the question that changes everything. Given that everything is temporary, how should I live now? With gratitude, with presence, with courage, with love that does not hold too tightly, with a heart awake to the beauty of the fleeting. Because when you accept that the mustard seed cannot be found, you finally begin to live. Life rarely goes the way we expect. Plans collapse. Opportunities vanish. People change. Doors close. And whenever this happens, our first reaction is almost always the same. This is terrible. This shouldn't have happened. This is the worst thing that could occur. But the truth is, you don't know that. You can't know that. And there is an ancient Zen story that reveals why. A farmer had a single horse, his most valuable possession. One day, the horse ran away. The villagers came and said, "This is such bad luck." The farmer simply replied, "Maybe." A week later, the horse returned, but not alone. It brought back a group of wild horses. The villagers shouted, "This is wonderful!" The farmer again said, "Maybe." Later, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses. He fell, broke his leg, and became unable to work. The villagers cried, "This is terrible." The farmer said, "Maybe." A month passed. The army arrived to recruit every young man for a dangerous war. But because the farmer's son had a broken leg, he was spared. The villagers ran to the farmer's house. "You're so lucky!" And as always, the farmer said, "Maybe." Do you see the wisdom? Events in life are not inherently good or bad. They are simply steps on a path too vast to judge in the moment. What looks like a disaster today may be the reason for your growth tomorrow. What appears to be a blessing now may eventually cause suffering. Everything is interconnected in ways your mind cannot see, and modern research supports this ancient truth. A study from Northwestern University found that people who experienced moderate adversity, not too little, not too much, ended up with higher resilience, greater life satisfaction, and stronger problem-solving skills than those who had easy lives. In other words, your challenges may be quietly preparing you for the strength you will desperately need later. Think about your own life. Can you recall moments where something you thought was awful eventually led to something profoundly meaningful? A heartbreak that opened the door to a healthier relationship. A failure that forced you to discover your true calling. A rejection that redirected you toward something better. A job loss that led to freedom. An unexpected change that saved you from a bigger mistake. But in the moment, it didn't feel wise. It felt unfair, painful, unwanted. Because the mind judges quickly, while life unfolds slowly. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from the belief that life should match our expectations. But life is not obligated to move in straight, predictable lines. It moves like rivers, curving, bending, surprising. Mindfulness teaches us to embrace this uncertainty with openness rather than fear. To replace, "This is the end," with, "Maybe this is the beginning." To replace, "This is a failure," with, "Maybe this is the step I needed." To replace, "I shouldn't be here," with, "Maybe I am exactly where I must be to grow." Imagine if, instead of resisting, you met life with the farmer's simple wisdom. Imagine how your anxiety would shrink if you stopped labeling every event as tragedy or triumph. Imagine the freedom of letting life unfold without needing to condemn or praise every moment. Let me ask you, what situation in your life right now feels like a disaster? What event are you certain is bad? Now, gently whisper to yourself, "Maybe." Not to deny the difficulty, but to open the possibility that you are standing in a chapter whose purpose you will only understand later. Because the truth is this: life is not working against you. Life is working through you, shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you. And sometimes what feels like loss is actually protection. What feels like chaos is actually rearrangement. What feels like an ending is actually a beginning. All you need is the courage to say, "Maybe." There is a silent weight many of us carry every single day, the weight of other people's words. A stranger insults you. A colleague snaps at you. A loved one speaks in anger. Someone judges you, mocks you, misunderstands you. And instantly, your chest tightens, your pride ignites, your heart closes. Your mind repeats the moment again and again, long after the other person has forgotten it. But there is a Zen teaching so simple, so elegant, so liberating, that once you truly understand it, no one will ever be able to control your peace again. A man once came to the Buddha, furious. He insulted the Buddha, cursed him, shouted at him in front of everyone. When he finally stopped, the Buddha looked at him gently and asked, "If someone gives you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man answered, "It remains with the giver." The Buddha smiled and said, "That is correct, and I do not accept your anger." Imagine that. Imagine possessing a mind so stable, a heart so anchored, a presence so clear, that someone could scream in your face and you remain untouched. Not because you are cold, not because you are weak, but because you understand the truth. Someone else's anger is their gift. You do not have to take it. Let's bring this into modern life. A driver cuts you off. Gift offered. You do not have to accept it. A coworker blames you unfairly. Gift offered. You do not have to accept it. A family member lashes out because they themselves are hurting inside. Gift offered. You don't have to accept it. People throw emotional gifts at you all the time. Frustration, jealousy, insecurity, rage, fear, disappointment. But the moment you accept these gifts, they become yours to carry. Mindfulness teaches the opposite. It invites you to see clearly. What people say is a reflection of their inner world, not your worth. Modern neuroscience agrees. Studies show that 90% of anger expressed by a person is rooted not in the present moment, but in accumulated stress, unresolved trauma, and unmet needs. So when someone directs anger at you, chances are it was never about you in the first place. Think about this. Have you ever snapped at someone you love, not because they deserved it, but because you were tired, overwhelmed, or hurt? If you have, you already understand the truth. People project their inner storms onto whoever is closest. The Buddha's wisdom gives us the power to not take this personally. It allows us to pause, breathe, and see the suffering behind the anger. It allows us to respond rather than react, to have compassion without absorbing toxicity, to stay calm even when the world is noisy. Imagine the freedom of living this way. Someone insults you, and you remain at peace. Someone tries to provoke you, and you stay grounded. Someone judges your choices, and you remain clear inside yourself. This is not passiveness. This is mastery. Let me ask you now, how many emotional gifts have you accepted this week that were never meant for you to carry? The criticism that ruined your day, the harsh words still echoing in your mind, the argument replaying in your head, the judgment that made you doubt yourself. What if, starting today, you simply stopped taking ownership of what was never yours? Imagine how much lighter your heart would feel. Imagine how much energy you would save. Imagine how deeply you could breathe again. Mindfulness gives you permission to gently say, "I see your pain, but I will not make it my own." Because peace is not found in controlling others. Peace is found in refusing to receive what does not belong to you.
And the moment you learn to leave the gift with the giver, no one will ever be able to steal your peace again. One of the deepest sources of human suffering is the fear of losing what we love. We cling to people, we cling to possessions, we cling to relationships, routines, identities, and expectations. We cling even when the clinging hurts us. And every time life changes, as life always does, we feel shaken, threatened, afraid. But there is a Zen teaching so profound, so disarming, that once you truly absorb it, the fear of loss begins to dissolve. A monk once held up a beautiful cup and said, "To me, this cup is already broken." People were shocked. The cup was perfectly fine. No crack, no flaw, no damage. But the monk smiled and continued, "I enjoy this cup. I drink from it. Its beauty brings me joy. But in my mind, it is already broken, because one day it will fall, it will crack, it will be gone." Knowing this, I can fully appreciate it now, without fear, without clinging. This is not pessimism. This is freedom. When we accept the impermanence of things, we stop trying to freeze life in place. We stop gripping. We stop resisting. We stop telling ourselves, "This must last forever for me to be okay." Because the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not youth, not health, not relationships, not careers, not the people we love, not even the version of ourselves we are today. Impermanence is the nature of everything, and the more we resist it, the more we suffer. Modern psychology confirms this. Studies from the University of Toronto show that emotional attachment, when combined with fear of loss, is one of the strongest predictors of anxiety and depression. Meanwhile, people who practice non-attachment experience greater emotional resilience, higher well-being, and significantly reduced stress. Non-attachment does not mean indifference. It does not mean coldness, detachment, or apathy. It means loving fully, without trying to possess, control, or imprison what you love. It means appreciating a moment without demanding that it lasts forever. It means holding everything gently, knowing that life is a flowing river, not a frozen sculpture. Think about your life for a moment. Have you ever lost something or someone that you believed you could never live without? Yet somehow you did. You survived. You adapted. You grew. You are stronger than you think. You have endured more change than you realize. The monk's broken cup invites you to live with openness instead of fear. To love people deeply, but without clinging to them. To appreciate beauty, but without the anxiety of, "What if I lose it?" To step into relationships, projects, dreams, not with desperation, but with presence. Because when you treat everything as already broken, you stop trying to cage life. You allow it to breathe, to move, to unfold. Let me ask you gently, what are you clinging to right now? A person? A job? An identity? A belief about how life should be? A version of the past you desperately want back? And what is that clinging costing you? In peace? In sleep? In joy? In freedom? Imagine if you could loosen your grip. Imagine if you could place your hands gently around your life instead of squeezing it tight. Imagine the relief of loving without fear. Mindfulness teaches us that the moment you see everything as already broken, already changing, already shifting, already moving, you begin to cherish things more. not less. You become more present, more grateful, more alive. Because every sip from the already broken cup feels like a miracle. Every moment becomes precious. Every breath becomes a gift. And in that awareness, you discover a truth that brings profound peace. You don't need life to be permanent in order for life to be beautiful. There is a story in Zen that reveals one of the greatest sources of human exhaustion, not physical exhaustion, but emotional exhaustion, the kind that makes your heart heavy even when your body is resting. Two monks were traveling together. As they reached a riverbank, they saw a woman struggling, unable to cross the water. The older monk, compassionate and steady, lifted her onto his back, carried her across the river, and gently set her down. She thanked him, and the two monks continued their journey. For hours they walked in silence. Eventually, the younger monk could no longer contain himself. "How could you do that?" he burst out. "We are monks. We are not supposed to touch women."
The older monk looked at him, surprised, and replied, "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" This story pierces straight into the human heart, because the truth is, we carry far too much for far too long. We carry arguments that ended years ago. We carry mistakes we already apologized for. We carry childhood wounds. We carry guilt. We carry shame. We carry old heartbreaks, old regrets, old versions of ourselves. We carry every should, could, and if only, like invisible stones in a backpack. And then we wonder why life feels heavy. Psychologists call this rumination, the act of replaying a memory until it becomes more painful than the event itself. Stanford research shows that 95% of our daily thoughts are repetitive. The same loops, the same stories, the same self-judgment, every single day. You are not tired because life is hard. You are tired because your mind refuses to put things down, just like the younger monk. And here is the most important part. The weight is not the event. The weight is the attachment to the event. It is not the river that burdens us. It is what we carry after crossing it. You might think you've moved on, but the mind continues to whisper, "That was unfair. I shouldn't have said that. They shouldn't have done that. I can't believe this happened." It reopens wounds. It reheats old anger. It replays painful scenes. It keeps you living in mental reruns of moments that no longer exist. Mindfulness offers a radical shift. It says, you do not have to carry the past in your hands. You can set it down, not by forgetting, not by forcing yourself to ignore it, but by seeing clearly. This moment is gone. Only my mind is holding it. Let me ask you gently, what are you still carrying? A comment someone made years ago, a failure you refuse to forgive, a mistake that keeps replaying in your head, a betrayal that shaped the way you trust, the loss of someone, the anger toward someone. And how has carrying this affected your life, your sleep, your peace, your ability to feel joy, your relationships, your self-esteem? Imagine a life where you can finally put it down, not as an act of weakness, but as an act of wisdom. Imagine waking up one morning feeling lighter, not because life changed, but because you no longer grip what hurts you. The older monk's wisdom was simple. Compassion is carrying when needed.
Freedom is letting go when the moment has passed. Tonight, allow yourself to consider something revolutionary. You don't need to fix the past. You don't need to rewrite it. You simply need to stop carrying it. Set the woman down. Set the argument down. Set the wound down. Set the mistake down. Set the guilt down. Place it gently by the river of your memory and step forward with empty hands. Because when your hands are empty, you can finally receive peace. In a monastery nestled deep in the mountains, a young monk once asked his master, "Why can't I hear the wisdom you speak of? Why can't I feel the peace everyone talks about?" The master simply smiled, led him into the meditation hall, and asked him to sit quietly. Hours passed. The young monk grew restless, annoyed, bored. His thoughts grew louder than the silence surrounding him. And then, in the middle of his frustration, he suddenly heard it. A faint, delicate sound. A cricket singing somewhere in the darkness. A sound so soft it seemed impossible to notice unless the mind was truly still. The master opened his eyes and whispered, "You do not hear the cricket because it is loud. You hear it because you have become quiet." This story reveals a truth that modern life desperately hides from us. The world is not too loud. Your inner world is too noisy. Today, noise is everywhere, not just in the streets or in your environment, but in your mind. Notifications, comparisons, overthinking, the constant pressure to be more, do more, achieve more. The endless internal monologue that tells you you're behind, you're not enough, you need to hurry. Research shows that the average person now checks their phone over 2,600 times a day. Our brains are constantly switching, reacting, consuming, never resting long enough to hear the cricket inside, the voice of clarity, intuition, wisdom, and truth. No wonder you feel lost. No wonder you feel overwhelmed. No wonder you feel disconnected from yourself. You cannot hear inner wisdom if your mind is full of noise. The Buddha taught that the greatest teacher is not outside. It is the stillness within you. But most people live their entire lives never meeting that part of themselves. They drown in external stimulation and forget the one sound that can change everything, the sound of their own presence. Let me ask you honestly, when was the last time you were truly quiet? Not scrolling, not listening to something, not planning, not worrying, just present. When was the last time you listened to your breath as if it were the first and last breath of your life? When was the last time you felt your heartbeat without rushing to the next task? When was the last time you simply sat and allowed the world to be exactly as it is without controlling, judging, or resisting? Silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers. In silence, you remember who you are, beyond your roles, beyond your mistakes, beyond your fears, beyond your restless thoughts. In silence, your intuition awakens. Your priorities become clear. Your stress dissolves like mist. Your breath becomes an anchor. Mindfulness invites you to create sacred pauses in your day. Small moments where you step out of the storm and return to the stillness beneath it. Just 30 seconds of conscious breathing can lower stress hormones. 3 deep breaths can reset your nervous system.
1 minute of silence can shift your entire state of mind. Even now, in this very moment, you can feel it. Take a slow breath. Feel your chest rise. Feel it fall. For just 1 breath, the world quiets. Your thoughts soften. Your inner space expands. The cricket sings again. This is the stillness you've been longing for. This is the peace you keep searching for outside. This is the wisdom that has always been inside you. Tonight, you come closer to remembering this truth. When you silence the noise, you rediscover your own clarity. When you listen inwardly, you awaken your inner teacher. When you become still, life speaks. There is an old belief shared across cultures that wisdom lives somewhere far away, on a mountaintop, in a distant temple, in the hands of a guru, in a future version of you, more disciplined, more enlightened, more whole. Many people spend their whole lives searching for this somewhere, always looking outward, always waiting for a better moment.
Always believing peace lies just a little further ahead. But there is a Zen story that dissolves this illusion completely. A monk once traveled for weeks across dangerous terrain to reach a legendary mountain said to hold the secrets of enlightenment. When he finally arrived at the foot of the mountain, he was exhausted, starving, thirsty, blistered. He expected the summit to transform him. He expected revelation. He expected clarity, awakening, transcendence. But after climbing for hours, he found nothing. Just rocks, wind, silence. The same sky he had seen every day of his life. Disappointed, he asked his master later, "Why didn't I find anything on the mountain?" The master replied, "Because you took yourself with you." This is the heart of Zen. You cannot escape your mind by changing your environment. You cannot outrun your emotions by traveling. You cannot find peace by searching for it outside. Wherever you go, your mind follows. You don't need a mountaintop. You need awareness. You don't need a special place. You need presence. You don't need the perfect conditions. You need clarity. The Buddha taught this again and again. Peace is found within, not without. But let's bring this into your life, right now. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll be happy when I get that job. I'll feel peaceful once I move to a quieter place. I'll relax when life settles down. I'll start living once everything is organized. I'll love myself when I become better." This kind of thinking traps millions of people. It creates a spiritual mirage, a life spent chasing horizons that disappear as soon as you reach them. You believe peace exists later, or over there, or once I change. But the truth is profound and simple. If you cannot find peace here, you will not find it there. Because peace is not a destination, it is a habit of awareness. Here is what modern neuroscience says. Your mind adapts to external changes quickly, even big ones. A new house, a new relationship, a new job, a vacation, they create temporary joy, but your baseline returns within weeks. External change cannot create lasting inner peace. Only inner change can. So, how do you begin? Not by traveling, not by escaping, not by waiting for a better version of yourself. You begin by anchoring your awareness into the only place life ever unfolds, this moment. When you drink tea with awareness, the tea becomes sacred. When you breathe with awareness, your body becomes grounded. When you walk with awareness, the earth beneath your feet becomes holy. When you listen with awareness, even silence reveals lessons. Your everyday life becomes the mountain. The Buddha did not reach enlightenment in a temple or in a monastery or on a pilgrimage. He reached enlightenment while sitting under a simple tree, right where he was. Not because the place was special, but because his mind became still enough to see clearly. Let me ask you now, what mountain are you chasing? What future moment have you convinced yourself will finally make you whole? And what if the peace you long for is already here, waiting patiently beneath your next breath? Mindfulness brings the mountain to you. It turns ordinary moments into gateways of awakening. It transforms your life from the inside out. Because when you awaken where you are, you realize something extraordinary. You were never searching for a place. You were searching for yourself.
Every story you have heard tonight points to one simple, liberating truth. Your suffering does not come from life. It comes from the way your mind meets life. The empty boat taught you not to take things personally. The two tigers showed you the freedom of the present moment. The two arrows revealed how much pain you create on your own. The mustard seed opened your heart to impermanence. Maybe taught you humility before life's unfolding. The unwanted gifts taught you emotional sovereignty. The broken cup freed you from clinging. The river story freed you from the past. The cricket reminded you to quiet your mind. And the sacred mountain showed you that peace was always within you. So as you walk away from this moment, remember this. You don't need a different life to be at peace. You need a different relationship with the life you already have. One breath, one moment of awareness, one gentle shift in the mind, and you begin to awaken.